Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Kavanaugh, and I am a teacher with Postpartum Doula Academy.
And I'm Nancy Ham, and I teach Gentle Ventures, which is a newborn care specialist training center.
That's right. And if you're listening to this and you feel the call to learn more and become a newborn care specialist or postpartum doula yourself, please see the links below for our websites or reach out to us directly, and we'd be happy to talk with you about how you can become a part of this.
Sounds like a plan. What's our goal for today, Julia?
So Nancy, we're going to dive into some outreach that's come to us so
Okay.
far through email or calls. Um, so I wanted to start with a conversation that I had recently with a newborn care specialist because I think you'd be
Okay.
the perfect person to talk to about this.
Okay. Can I
So
interject something here a minute?
yes,
When we're doing this
yes.
without me knowing what Julia's emails or clients have said, and we're going to answer the question, and then I've got some questions that she knows nothing about.
That's right.
So we're going to try to really make it off the cuff.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, this is
Okay.
unrehearsed. We have
Very
a
unrehearsed. I'm afraid of what might come out, but it'll be good. It'll be
Oh
good.
my gosh, we got this. We got this. Okay, so all right, for the first scenario, yesterday I was contacted by a newborn care specialist who has a baby that she's watching. The baby is 6 weeks old and is only taking 30-minute naps.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Healthy weight, she said the baby is 10 pounds. So baby's doing well. And she said that the baby is also sleeping well at night so far.
Okay.
So about 7 hours. Baby's at
Okay.
about 7 hours. But during the day, baby only wants to take 30-minute naps. And she's tried everything from, putting her hand on the baby and shushing the baby. She doesn't know what to do. So they end up just taking the baby out of the crib
Yeah.
because the mom doesn't want to hear the baby cry.
Right. Yeah.
So what would you do?
Oh,
Yes.
well,
What do you suggest?
I think that what I would do and what you would do may be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Let's
we're
talk
going to
about it.
discuss that because newborn care specialists have a different role than a doula.
Yeah.
And a newborn care specialist role is basically to get the baby on a schedule first, get the baby eating well, getting reflux colic, all that stuff under control. But naps is a huge thing. And naps start for the newborn care specialist, naps start at birth. What I
Hmm.
mean is when our babies wake up from a nap at the 35 or 45 minute, which is when their sleep cycle may change.
Yes.
And so they may wake up and it may just be an eye opening and they may go back to sleep, which is what we want. But right around a month, 6 weeks or something like that, they decide I'm awake. I'm going to cry and see what that gets me. And
Okay.
so basically, I like to say to mom, let's let the baby just fuss. They're not hysterical or anything. Let's let them fuss for a minute to 3 minutes, and they'll probably go back to sleep. Most of the babies that I have do go back to sleep in that amount of time, but let me tell you something. A minute to 3 minutes for a mom and also for a newborn care specialist is a long time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't wait that long. But if you can, the baby is going to learn a little bit about self-soothing and putting themselves back to sleep and connecting those sleep cycles, which is what we want. We want the baby to connect the sleep cycles. Now,
Yeah.
for this mom, or this, I don't know if this was a mom or a newborn care
This
specialist.
was, yeah, this was a newborn care specialist.
Okay, all right. So then I would say for her that she needs to be in that nursery before that baby wakes up.
Okay.
And the first sign of that baby stirring, that's when she should start the soothing, not waiting for the baby to cry. And
Okay.
try to reconnect those sleep cycles and get that baby to continue sleeping. And the thing is, you've got to be very consistent about it. And
Okay.
also, the chances are that once you start this habit of getting the baby at the 35 or 45-minute place, it's going to be
Yeah.
much harder to
What do
connect
you
the
mean
sleep,
by harder?
to connect the sleep cycles. So it's not
Oh,
like it's going to happen in a day or two. It might take you 2 weeks of
okay. So you're
continually.
are you saying from from what I'm hearing, I'm listening to you as someone who is new to this, right? So are you saying that if we don't do the preliminary work of letting the baby sleep in their crib in a consistent space with a consistent like blackout curtains, like having a consistent nap routine. If
Mhm.
we don't have that established before the 6 week mark or before they start waking up every 30 minutes, that once that starts, it's going to be difficult to start it then, start the connection then.
Well, right. It wouldn't be difficult if you started right away, but usually they start waking up at the maybe 3 or 4 week period.
Yeah,
And by 6 weeks, it's way a habit.
got you, got you.
That's what I'm saying. The brain develops neurological pathways.
Yeah,
That, and that's like, and I describe it to my girls in class. Like, let's just say that a little girl goes to her grandma's house every day after school.
yeah,
Okay. And she always takes exactly the same route.
yeah,
And she knows how to do that. She could probably do it blindfolded because she knows how to do that. But
yeah.
one day her friend says to her, "Can you come to my house?" And the little girl's like, "Well, I don't know how to get there because she has no pathway to go." So she
Yeah.
learns the little girl's way to the little girl's house. And as she's learning the way to the little girl's house, the grandma's house becomes fainter and fainter in her mind. Does that
Wow.
make any sense?
I love that.
It's
I
just,
love that.
yeah, it's just like there are neural pathways that have been established,
Yeah.
and we're trying to cover the pathway up with weeds, so it no longer is a
Yes.
good path. And we're trying to
Yes.
introduce a new path to this baby.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So if this if since this woman waited till 6 weeks to reach out,
Mhm,
it I mean, it sounds like she's already been trying her own methods
mhm.
to get the baby back to help the baby connect the sleep cycles, and then she kind of gave up, is
Yep.
what it sounds like, because the baby was awake and she's like, "Oh, well, I just have to take the baby out now."
Mhm.
Um, so by that time, she has to be prepared that it's going to take longer for this baby
Yes.
to kind of accept that coming out of the crib at 30 minutes it is not what we're doing anymore.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now this lady has got a baby that gets up after 30 minutes of sleep, and the
30,
baby's
30,
up.
35.
Yeah, the baby's up for the next 2 hours. That baby is exhausted. Little babies can't do that.
Yeah.
So we have to understand how important sleep is
Wow.
to a child, and realize that this is not just a little, oh, my baby wake up for a nap and I'm going to go get her and she's going to be cranky. There's so much more that's going on brain wise that has to be dealt with when we're not allowing our babies the correct amount of sleep, which is like for babies, it can be anywhere from 18 to 20 hours a day that they
Yeah.
need sleep.
I love that you're bringing that up too, Nancy, because I've worked with families that use taking care of babies. It's a really popular one with the
Mhm.
parents, and as like a model for training. And this is I'm she's great. The woman who created that, she's wonderful. And that method and other methods that are similar to that, like the parents do it yourself, here's how you do it. When it comes to the nap portion and the 30-minute mark, there are statements in there that say 30 minutes is completely normal for this age. Some babies are just 30-minute nappers, and it's totally developmentally normal. And I love hearing your take on this and how it's like it really is um, conditioning, right? The sleep conditioning, which you talked about one of the other episodes, but it's what do they expect? And can we help them learn how to connect these? Because sleep is so important.
Sleep is so important. And these babies, it's not like these babies are up and happy. If
Right.
these babies were up and happy, that might be a different story. But
Okay.
they're not. They're
Yeah.
up and they're cranky. And then it makes it a lot more work for mom. It's
Or
like,
the newborn care specialist or doula.
or the newborn care specialist who is actually on the job.
Yeah.
But sleep is essential. And babies do so much better when they get the proper sleep and are taught, babies can go to sleep.
Yeah.
Babies have a hard time staying asleep. And that's why we need to teach babies to sleep. And I mean, that sounds like, oh, babies know how to sleep. They do. They just don't know how to go back to sleep. And that's what we have to teach them.
I love that. I love that. And I think we should do a whole episode just on what happens when a baby sleeps that is important for their body. Like just a whole episode on why is sleep important for a
Yes,
baby.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, we'll do one of those.
Okay, what else you got for me?
Okay, all right. I did get an email. Let me open up my email. And this was from another newborn care specialist, but I feel like you would be the person to answer this.
Oh, I've got a couple good ones for you, girl.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so this is what she said. I'm going to keep her name anonymous. She said, I'm an NCS working with a first-time mom who hired me for my expertise, but she is constantly ignoring my advice.
Oh,
She does things that make the baby fussier and sleep worse, and then she complains that nothing's working. I've tried gently explaining why certain approaches are better, but she dismisses me or says that she read something different online. What's really concerning is that she insists on putting the baby to sleep with a loose blanket in the bassinet.
ooh,
Despite me explaining the risk of suffocation and SIDS. I've shown her safe sleep guidelines, but she waves it off, saying that her mom did it this way and the baby seems fine. I don't want to overstep, but I also feel like I'm not being effective. Do you have any suggestions on how to handle this without causing tension? Do you want me to repeat it?
okay. She's got a lot of things going on there.
Yeah,
First of all, I've got to think if I've ever had a mom I've had a couple moms who've kind of done what they wanted to do.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to pick your battles, first of all. Let's just say you have to pick your battles. You also have to remember what you're taught. For instance, safe sleep is really important.
yeah,
Now, if mom does not want to do safe sleep, if she's like, nah, it's not important, then you have a huge liability as a newborn care specialist because you are the one who has the education.
yeah,
You're the expert in the house.
yeah.
So I would probably get a waiver signed. That's
Good
and
idea.
usually waivers may not be really effective, but they're effective in the way that they say, I don't have a waiver to pull up, or I do, but I'd have to go on a Zoom.
It's
But
okay.
they say it may cause the death of your baby if you don't use that could die of SIDS or whatever. It
Yes.
makes them think. It
Yes.
makes them think, is this really something that I want to, is this really the mountain I want to die on, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So moms can be made aware. I would sit down and ask mom what her goals are.
Okay.
And I would sit down and we would have a talk.
Yeah.
And I would say, here, I am here with all my education, all my expertise.
Yeah.
And if you want to do things your way and it's not harming the baby, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that we cannot do, that I cannot do, even legally because of my position,
Yes.
because of my position. And then another thing that I just want to bring up really quick, which doesn't have anything really to do with this, but could, is
Okay.
that we are mandated reporters. So
That's
if
true.
we see mom doing something that is dangerous toward the baby,
Yep.
then we are obligated to report that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a whole can of worms in and of itself.
that is a whole can of worms in and
Yeah,
of itself. I have the contract that I sell for newborn care specialists does have a clause in there that
yeah.
says that they are mandated reporter, and they will use their what do you want to say, status or whatever, if need be.
I love your contract, Nancy. I've used it with other clients that I've
Yeah.
had when I'm acting as a newborn care specialist, and it's really saved me a lot of grief because it's
Well,
like oh, it's in
yeah,
the contract, and most of my clients like actually take the time to read it. Sometimes they don't, but usually they do. But it's always there to point back to.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I was going to say something else about that.
Well, I'm going to chime in while
Okay,
you're
yeah.
thinking about that. Along the lines of like the billowy blanket or like the untight swaddle. I mean, I've had clients do similar things too, especially when they come from other cultures. I had I had some clients that were from Europe, and
Mhm.
I mean I've had many clients from Europe, but one particular family, the the mom was like, in my country, like we don't swaddle. And I know that you don't work with families
I don't.
unless they allow you to swaddle.
Yes.
But this was earlier on in my career, and I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll do whatever you want me to do. And she wanted the blanket. She also wanted like she would put a little blanket over the baby, and she wanted the baby in one of those, DockATot um, comfy things so that the baby felt held. She'd say they sleep better in there,
Hmm.
which I mean, they do because it feels super cozy. It feels like you're being held. And what I ended up doing with her um, was what did I do? I told her that if that's what she wants to do when she's with the baby, that is up to her. But like you said, as far as when I'm there to watch over the baby, I needed to make sure that the baby was completely safe
Yep.
and that I was following AAP standards,
Yeah,
American Association of Pediatrics.
it's very difficult as a newborn care specialist to see a baby in a swaddle that's not tight and it's up and around their face.
Oh my
And
God.
it's like, I can't allow this. I just can't allow this. We have to do something about this. So,
I like to also educate the moms and the like whoever it is about CO2 inhalation
yes.
and how it's not because I think parents sometimes get this idea that like oh like it's not gonna like lay on the baby's face and suffocate the baby or the baby's not gonna not be able to turn their head, and that may or may not be true depending on the age and function of the baby, but uh what I didn't know at first was that it's not even is something directly on their mouth restricting breathing, but are they just over inhaling what the air that they're breathing out in CO2, which can lead
Mhm.
to suffocation in
Right.
infants.
Which is the reason they took bumper pads out of the beds, because the bumper pads were not allowing the air circulation in the crib enough, and
That's right. That's right.
they had said that it could be a SIDS hazard. Julie, I want to just go back
Yeah.
because you did not answer the nap question on what a doula would do.
Oh,
I'm going
that's
to get you
interesting.
on that. That's just, yeah,
Oh, thank you. It's super different. So
I
this
know
was
it is. I know it
NCS.
is. Yeah.
This was an NCS who reached out. So for the first person who asked me about 30-minute naps, if I'm acting as an NCS, I do exactly what you're talking about. And I'll present because I'm an NCS
Mhm.
and a doula, I'll present both options to the parents. And I'll say it's up to you. If you want me to get your baby into a good rhythm for them, we can do this. If you cannot or do not want your baby to cry at all, and I have moms
Yep.
who are much more on that side, um, then the baby gets up at 30 minutes, and usually I or the mom or somebody will end up wearing the baby, in a wrap, And it really, but it's really unsustainable unless you've got a stay-at-home parent who's like, I'm fine wearing the baby for naps they don't, until they're taking like one nap a day or
Have you ever seen a baby that actually got into the rhythm of the nap because they woke up and they were put immediately on mom so they went immediately back to sleep?
they would go immediately back to sleep.
Right. So have you ever had a baby that actually was able to establish good naps in their crib or in their bassinet because of doing that?
No.
Oh,
Oh, absolutely not. No.
oh, okay. I just thought
I
maybe,
love where your brain is though, Nancy, because yeah, maybe. No, if anything, I think what it teaches is like the babies are like, oh, I've got to put up with the first nap in the crib. That's fine because I know I'm gonna get to nap on mom or I'm gonna get to nap on my
okay,
friend, the doula,
okay.
come after 30 minutes.
Hmm.
And in those scenarios with families that want that, our priority that we establish as a team is I just want the baby to nap however I can get the baby to nap.
Right, right.
Whatever it takes.
Well, and I know that was kind of a foolish comment, but I'm
No,
looking
I
at
love
the,
that.
no, I'm looking at the newborn babies who are never put down.
Yeah,
And they get into that same thing where they can't take a nap because as soon as they're put down, they wake up.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important that we tell parents it's okay if you want to take like one nap a day and hold that baby and snuggle that baby and rock that baby through the whole nap.
Yeah,
Just don't make it the same nap every day, make it a different nap.
I love
And
that.
the other times, nurse the baby, feed the baby, swaddle the baby, put them down.
Yes. That is the way to do it if you don't want to have to train them later, which
Yep,
will involve crying. They're going to have to fuss. They're going to
yep,
have to figure out
yep.
that new route to their friend's house, and they're probably going to cry a little
Because
bit
they get lost.
because they get lost and this is
Don't know which way to go.
where's that
Yeah,
nice boob and that nice heartbeat that I'm so accustomed to.
yep,
Um, and and for some families, they're really okay with baby not being, they're okay with baby crying if they're put down. They're like, I will hold this baby till the
right.
cows come home. And that is okay. If that is you, if that's your family,
Yeah,
hold that baby for every nap.
absolutely. But just realize
Yes.
that's every nap.
Yep.
You're not going to get any time to yourself. You're going to be holding that baby for the next year or maybe even 2 years.
Yeah,
Because if they don't know how to
it's
go
not gonna
down,
magically get better when they're
it's
like,
not.
okay, mom, I'm cool. Put me down to
Yep.
sleep.
Nope. Today is fine, Mom. You go ahead and do your stuff, and I'll just sleep in the crib. That's not going to happen.
Oh no,
Like we said
no.
before, babies have to be taught to sleep. Okay, we're going to go on to the next one
I
because
love that. Thank
I,
you.
I'm getting you now.
Oh, all right. All right. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Oops. Okay. This was actually a phone call, but
Okay.
I kind of put it down in words so that I have a 4-week-old baby, 8 pounds,
Okay.
and two things that have happened that I need help figuring out. First, the baby went to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician told me the baby needed 28 to 30 ounces a day.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
like, whoa, okay. And
Yeah.
he says that he is not gaining weight as quickly as he should. However,
Oh,
that seems like a lot, and he throws up and he gags when I try to force feed him.
oh, honey.
Right now, we are having a hard time getting him to stay awake. It takes an hour to eat. What is the normal amount and time for a baby that age to eat?
Oh, that's great. Oh my gosh. Oh, this little munchkin.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So, okay, again, your person has a lot happening as well. So as a doula, the first thing that I would say is 4 weeks old and they're having a difficult time staying awake. Um, It sounds, did they say if this baby was breastfed or if this baby was bottle fed?
Well, there's a second part to this, and that was going into breastfeeding. She is breastfeeding, but she has to top him off
Okay.
because he's just not getting enough from the breast, even though
Okay.
he's on for maybe an hour.
Jeez. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh,
And she's real frustrated. Yeah.
that's so hard. So yeah, first thing I would advise, the very first thing is get that mom and baby to a lactation consultant.
Just a minute. I think I've got, oh no, that's the next one. Okay.
Yeah.
Go for
Okay.
it.
Yeah. First thing, get them to a lactation consultant because it should not be taking a baby an hour to eat at 4 weeks old
No.
on the breast. Maybe 30 minutes, 15 minutes on one side, 15 minutes on
Mhm.
the other. Some moms are ample producers and baby only needs one side, but more than 30 minutes, that's something's going on there for the baby. Something's not in alignment. And it could be that the baby has a tongue tie, and that would be able to be diagnosed by a lactation consultant. And if a baby has a tongue tie, that would make it a lot harder for them and impossible for them to get the proper latch so that they can effectively withdraw milk from mom.
Mhm.
Um, it could be that mom isn't getting enough water to amply provide enough milk in her breast, so baby's suckling and not quite getting satiated. Oh, like there are just so many different factors in this that
Julia, what is your, and this is kind of her question too,
yeah,
further down, but let's ask, what
yeah.
is your take on getting a scale for the baby?
Yeah, ooh, that's good. It's
I
a
mean,
great question.
and
Yeah.
she said, I don't know if I'll get neurotic about it and be like, gotta weigh the baby, gotta weigh. And she said, I don't want to be that way. But she
Yes.
said, I also want to know what he's getting at the breast exactly.
That's yeah. So if a family can afford it, and a lot of the people who hire us can, um, I do I you can do this one of two ways. If you're really concerned because the mom's got a history of like OCD or the NCS, or this isn't an NCS, I guess, or maybe they are. If there's any worry about obsessive tendencies, one or two trips to the lactation consultant should give you a true idea of how much your baby is really getting in a feed.
Okay.
And then you can kind of apply that to the other ones and say, well, last time they got about this much. I'm going to assume that they're getting about that much this time.
Okay. So you don't
Um,
suggest getting a scale and,
Not if there's obsessive tendencies
okay,
for the person,
okay.
but if there aren't, there might be a little anxiety. I find that knowing lessens my anxiety.
It would mine too.
It
Yeah.
would it would yours, yeah. So the scale that you would need to get would be the kind that a lactation consultant uses and brings to the house,
Hmm.
because they are able to measure the ounces accurately. Some of the cheaper scales that are on Amazon, like $30,
Yeah.
um, they give you it changes depending on like if the baby kicks their foot, it goes up or
Oh,
down like two or
okay.
3 ounces,
That's not good.
and that's gonna
Yeah.
change. That's gonna change how much is in their belly.
Do you have a name, a brand name or anything that you would suggest, or do we need to look that up and,
You know what? I'll look it up and we can link it below. That's
okay,
that's great. I'll make a note to do that. I don't
okay,
off the top of my head. Most of my clients end up going to the lactation consultant a couple of times, once to get a preliminary reading and then see if anything's going on with the latch or the baby's tongue, or is there tension on one side of the neck that's causing the baby discomfort? And then they follow up like a couple weeks later. But I love the idea of a scale so that you can put the baby
maybe,
on before feeding and then put them on after feeding and
yeah.
see what the difference is.
Yeah, after all, mothers who use bottles always know what their baby has eaten, and actually, we put it on a log. The baby's had two
Yes.
and a half ounces, baby's had 2 ounces this time, baby had 3 ounces this time. So she
Yes.
always knows. Um,
But the thing about breast milk, though, that and I learned this from a lactation consultant, is that it is more calorically dense than formula.
okay,
So a baby, and every mom is a little bit different, every baby's a little bit different. So because mama and baby are so interconnected, the amount of milk and the amount of calories in the milk for that specific mother's milk might be a little bit different than this next mother's milk. And
okay.
whatever that baby needs, the mom's body is going to make sure that those calories are in that milk.
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
It is so
And
cool.
that's why like
Yeah.
I've seen babies well and also what a mom pumps. A lot of women think that what they pump is what they're producing, and that's not necessarily true. Babies are much more effective at draining the breast than a pumping machine.
Mhm.
So your baby might be getting significantly more than you're pumping. If you're a person who does both, is like, oh, I only pumped 4 ounces, that baby might be sucking 5 when they are actually feeding. So I think that this was where I would say this is a little bit beyond my scope. We need somebody who is able to identify what's happening because an hour is too long for a baby to be eating at the breast. It's exhausting for baby.
Yes. Yeah. No wonder baby's
Yeah.
falling asleep.
And they're burning calories while they're
Hmm.
if she keeps waking up the baby to eat and the baby's trying to suck but like nothing's happening, they're burning calories that they need to grow.
Can you talk a little bit about what the doctor said, needing, what was it, 28 to 32 ounces for a
Yeah,
4 week old?
yeah.
Do you
So
remember the formula?
and so the baby, did she say how much the baby weighs?
8 pounds. It was an
And
8
the
pound
baby
baby. It was 4 weeks old. So it probably was a little bit underweight for a 4 week old.
for a 4 week old, because traditionally we'd want to see like
Half a pound a week.
9, 10
Yeah,
pounds
half a pound. Well, depending on what the baby's birth
was at
weight was,
birth.
which she didn't say. She just said now the baby is 8 pounds and
8 pounds.
clothes.
And this is tricky too, because Nancy, I know you've talked about this in your class.
Mhm.
Some babies come from a family line of very petite, structured
Yeah,
parents, and their weight is not going to be the average weight of a baby in the United States. So there are so many factors that come into this, but um, the doctor said, how many ounces?
28
28?
to 32.
28 to 32. Okay, so the formula that we use to figure out how much a baby should be eating is 2.5 times their weight. Um, and that's to make sure that they are gaining adequately.
Right. So
So
that would be 20 ounces a day is what he
20
should
ounces,
be 20. And the doctor said 28 to 32.
holy cow.
Yeah, I was shocked. I said, "Are you sure you heard that right?" And she
Yeah.
said, "Absolutely," because I asked him, was that 28 to 32? And he said, "Yes, 28 to 32."
I mean, that baby's tummy is going to stretch so much, they're going to be very uncomfortable.
Well,
I would work my way up to that. I would not start with that. No, what would I mean, if I'm measuring, like if I've got mama's milk, if she's pumping and I get to put it in a bottle,
uh-huh,
um, I would do, let's see, what is so 20, let's say divided by 7, like about 7 feeds a day. Do you
eight,
know how many? 8 feeds a
8 feeds,
day?
one every 3 hours.
Okay, they're on a 3 hour
Yeah.
schedule. Okay, so
So
20
was that two
divided
and a
by
half?
8. So 2.5
Yeah.
ounces. I mean, I might see if I can get that baby to do 3 ounces.
See, and I guess I've got a different philosophy on that
Tell
because
me, what's yours?
my only philosophy is you feed the baby till they quit.
Yeah.
If they quit at 2.5 or if they're still sucking at 2.5, you may want to add a little bit more. Or if they're fussy after you get done with 2.5, you may want to add a little bit more. If they
Yeah.
don't finish it, I'm not going to push, I'm not going to force feed a baby. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, I love that. And this is important, Nancy. Let's talk about what force feeding is. Because when I'm saying, let's see if we can get them to do three,
Mm-mm.
what I mean as a doula is I've got baby in my arms, bottle is horizontal, but the nipple is full. And I just continuously, I'll offer like 5 times. I'll see if I
Right.
can wake the baby up to comply with what the
See, and
pediatrician is asking. But I
I,
will never jam I'll never jam the nipple in the baby's mouth.
yeah,
If the baby continues to like be asleep or not want it, I won't force it. But I'll offer several times. But you're
yeah.
saying let the
I
baby,
won't do it, and I'll tell you why I won't do it is failure to thrive.
okay.
This is one of the reasons babies have failure to thrive is because they are force fed. Because
Yeah,
like its mom wants them to eat more, so she'll put the bottle in their mouth or keep jiggling it in her mouth, and pretty soon it's not a fun experience for the baby to eat anymore.
absolutely.
And so that's kind of where I come from on that. And I
I
don't
don't
know.
believe in force feeding. Let's just get that super clear. So
Right.
all of
No, I
you who
know you
want to
don't.
write us later, I
Yeah.
don't believe in force feeding. I believe in offering several times. And if they say no after like 3 times, I'd be like, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
Nancy believes in letting the baby like
Baby
if the
led.
baby's done, they're done. You
Yeah,
don't,
baby led.
yeah. But do you offer it a couple times or no?
Well, it depends. Let's just say that it's the middle of the night, which is the time I work,
Yeah.
and they have woken up and they have had 1 ounce, and they usually have 3 ounces. I will be like, no way, Jose, you're going to have some more,
Yeah.
or I'm not going to feed you at the next 3 hour mark
Yeah.
because you. Or I'm sorry, no, that's not what I mean. I'm not going to feed you until the next 3 hour mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to put you in your bed and have you wake up and say, "Oh, I'm hungry now. I'll take another ounce." So
Mm,
that's the only time that I encourage them to eat
yes.
more. That may be waking them up more, that may be burping them, that may be something else. But when
Yes.
they're eating way under what they usually eat, that's the only time that I will do a
Do
little.
you ever do you ever get in like, I mean, well, what's your take on the pediatrician saying like the weight it feels too small for this baby. They're not gaining fast enough.
Yeah, you know what I would say to that pediatrician? Bye. See ya.
I
If I knew
love
him.
that.
That
Okay.
that's just that is incompetence. You cannot get an 8 pound baby to eat 28 to 32 ounces a day. That's
Yeah.
a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Horrible idea. And he should know better than that, or she should know better than that.
Yeah, whoever they are.
Yeah.
And I that also is brings up another important point, like the importance of the the professionals that you surround yourself with, you and your family, like you got to be on the same page. And if you're not, or if they're suggesting things that don't feel in alignment with you, find someone who is,
Find someone
because
who is.
not all doctors are the same, and not all
Absolutely.
pediatricians are the same. Um,
Absolutely.
and don't always take a doctor right away for their word. Do the research. Like, does
Yes.
this make sense? Because a parent wouldn't know. I mean, unless they were educated in this field, they wouldn't know.
No, they wouldn't. But see, here's the thing, Julia. They expect when
Mhm.
they go to a doctor that they're
Yeah.
going to get good medical advice.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of times they don't. So, and I
Yeah.
know as an NCS, most of the people that I worked for, if I said it, it was true.
Yeah.
They didn't do any research. They did. And I had a few mothers that would do research, but I can't say that anybody came back at me and said, you were wrong, and here's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I had
and that's part of what we do, right? Like as an NCS and as a doula, making sure that we have evidence-based information that's
yeah,
backed up is so important.
we research, we just don't go on the job and say, "Yep." There are NCSs that do that, who
Yeah.
don't know anything. They've never taken a class. They just jump on the job and say, I know this, I know that, and are teaching parents, oh,
I
the
raised my sister's
stories.
kids. I helped with those babies. I know
Yep,
what to do. And it's
yep,
not, um, I
yep,
mean, you might know things, you might know some tips and tricks from
yeah.
experience, but the science behind why do we do what we do? Why do babies eat how much
Mm-hmm.
to eat?
Important.
Why do we insist on this amount of ounces? And how do you work with babies who are different? Because every baby
Every
is
baby's different.
unique.
That's
Yeah,
right.
every baby's unique. So, um, yeah, 28 ounces would work if the baby were, oh my gosh, Nancy,
10, 15, 10, 12 pounds.
10 or 12 pounds. Yeah. But, and there are babies who are 4 weeks old who are 10 or 12 pounds.
There
There are.
are. I've had
Um,
babies at birth that were 10 pounds.
yeah. Yeah.
So it
So,
does happen.
I mean, all I can think is that that pediatrician is basing his
He's
process
looking at
or
that
her
little
process.
chart. He's looking at that little chart
Yeah.
that says the
Yeah.
baby is below weight. What
Yeah.
do we have to do? Let's get some food into her. Don't care how you do it. Let's just do it. It's not important if the baby's healthy and growing and thriving.
Because that's the question. And I've asked clients this too, because they've called me like, oh my gosh, the doctor said my baby is underweight. I've had people
Mhm,
call me and say that. And I ask them, are their fingernails growing?
mhm,
Are they reaching developmental milestones? Yes, yes. Are they relatively happy during their wake periods? Yes.
yeah.
Are you or dad small of stature, or were you when you were little?
Mhm.
Yes. You know, then
That's what usually comes in. Yeah, I'm a Chinese woman.
yeah.
That's about the call that I had, and I'll never forget that. That was years ago. And she and her husband were Chinese, and the baby was little. And the doctor said, you have a failure to thrive baby. She called me sobbing. I didn't
Oh.
know her. She wasn't a client or anything. She just called me.
Wait,
And
Nancy, can you say what for our listeners who don't know what that means? Can you explain what
what means?
failure to thrive?
Oh, a failure to thrive baby is a baby that does not want to eat. They're
But
not
why
interested
is it so
because
it's a
they'll die.
scary term to receive. It's a scary
It's
diagnosis.
horrible. It means that their baby does not want to live.
Yeah.
It's a failure to thrive. Some babies just don't care about living.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's psychological, sometimes it's medical. We can do a show on that if you would like.
Let's do a
Yeah,
show on
it
failure
is
to thrive.
really interesting to
Okay.
delve into failure to thrive. But
Okay.
anyway, so it all melted down to they were Chinese, and I said, you know what? Do me a favor, make an appointment with another pediatrician,
Yeah.
not in the same building, not in the same business, in the
Yeah.
same what am I trying to
Network.
say? Network,
Network.
network, and just have the baby checked. She called me. It was probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks later, and
Yeah.
she says, "Thank you so much. There's nothing wrong with my baby."
Oh,
And it was just like I knew there was nothing wrong with her baby because she kept the questions that I asked her were the questions like you were asking, and the baby was healthy, it was happy, it was thriving. It was
wow.
just not the weight the doctor wanted to see.
What a relief as a
Yeah,
parent.
yeah.
Like to Gosh, I mean, because parents go on so many ups and downs with different professionals giving different input and telling
Mhm.
them different things. And we can do a whole show just about the insanity of getting
Mhm.
different input from different professionals.
We can.
But to get just to get that reassurance that indeed your baby is doing well and you thought they were and you were right.
Yeah.
Like it just
Yeah,
that
as soon as I ask her, there's a list of like 7 or 8 questions to ask.
okay.
If you think your baby is, or you've been told your baby's a failure to thrive baby. And hers were all yes, yes, yes. They were all fine. Everything that I was asking her was fine. And so
Yeah.
when she got done, I knew it was just her stature, how small she was, how small. I think they were under, I think she was 4'2" and her husband was 5 foot. I mean, they were little people.
Wow.
You know, so it was hereditary that their baby would honestly be a small baby.
Which makes sense given biology of women and our hips and
Mhm.
how a body usually makes a baby that can come through the vaginal canal.
Right.
I know
That makes
I
sense.
mean, it's all the rage in the I'm a birth doula as well. It's all the rage to say like, oh, your baby's too big for your hips. You won't be able to it won't be able to come out of your pelvis. We got to do a C-section.
Hell no.
Most of the time that's not the case.
Most of the time it's not.
Most of the time. It's
Yeah.
very rare that a woman's body will make a baby with a head that is too big
Yeah.
for her pelvis. Um, okay, all right, well, we can do another episode on that.
I,
But
do we have time for one more, or do you think we should wrap it up? I'm not sure how
you
long it's
know,
been.
is it a quick one? Yeah,
I
is
will
it a
give it
quick
to
one?
you, and then
Okay, give it to
maybe,
me. Let's see.
and we'll see if you think it's going to be a quick one.
Okay.
Let me see. This lady is having problems with her baby breastfeeding. He pulls off after about 5 minutes, so I end up feeding him the bottle. I have
Mhm.
talked to two lactation consultants, but am getting conflicting information. One wants me to stop allowing a bottle and says he will eventually breastfeed successfully. He's
Mhm.
cranky, and I'm sure he's hungry, and so I stopped that method. The
Yeah.
other one said my letdown may be too fast and I should extract a small amount of milk before I put him on. I tried that and he still pulls off. My mom says I should just pump and feed, bottle feed, because I introduced the bottle and getting him back on the breast is a lot of work. I have no problem doing the breast in the bottle, so right now I'm really confused. And why do lactation consultants have such differing opinions?
Oh my God. Oh.
That's not a short one, huh?
No, it's not a short one, but it's so important. I think we got to talk about it. And if people need to sign off because they got to go somewhere, come back and listen to this later. But um, lactation consultants are all people, just like all NCSs are individual people, all doulas are individuals, and we all have different training. Um, Unfortunately, and doctors, just like pediatricians,
Yeah.
all have different training. So, my heart just goes out to this mom. Yeah, and that's
That's
really
amazing.
standard. The
Yeah.
like both advices, I've had advice like that for both clients, and it really depends on what works for your baby. Um, the the biggest thing that I have seen work when it comes to a baby who is, well, also, do we know how old the baby is? Did she say?
I don't think she said.
Okay, so that
It
is a
must,
big.
it must be pretty new though, because
Okay.
she's already having problems. I mean, it's not like this has been going on for,
Well, the pulling off thing, that's pretty common around like 3 to 4 months.
oh, is
Like
it?
babies
Okay.
start getting excited, like, what's that sound? And then they'll
Oh,
pull off the
that's
nipple
true.
and then they want to look around and
That's
then they're distractible, right?
true.
So,
And Julia, do you remember when you took the class, I showed videos about the natural breastfeeding and how
yes,
babies pull off if they're not totally in contact with mom. They have to get all those pressure points. And
yes,
so I think that a lot of the babies pulling off and acting weird on the breast is simply because they can't find mom. They don't have their tummy
yes,
to tummy on mom. But that
yes.
may not be the issue here, but that would be one of the things I would suggest as
Oh, I
an
love that.
NCS.
I love that. So yeah, and as a doula, I would suggest that too. Laid back breastfeeding, natural breastfeeding is one of the most effective ways to get a baby to actively feed. Um,
Hmm.
and so just for our listeners who are like, what does that even mean? You can Google it, but it's just what Nancy said. You want the tummy to tummy. You want the baby's hips and inside of their knees, and then their feet, whether it's the tops of their feet or the little toes. You want that all to have contact with mom's body. Ideally, if mom can be shirtless
Hmm.
completely so that baby can get the skin to skin contact.
Yes.
And if baby can also be naked, that would be awesome, or just with a diaper. And you want the baby's chin and neck and hips all to be in alignment. We don't want the twisted posture that a lot of moms end up doing because that's kind of what we do with it's like this old archaic version of bottle feeding. You hold the baby out like this, and then you hold the bottle kind of like this, and the baby turns their head.
Yeah.
People find weird ways, not weird. Um, people do the best they can. And um, some of the ways that we've shown it on TV are not the best to support the baby in drinking. So I'll always, like, I like to have students in my class take a glass of water, put a straw in it, and hold it to their shoulder, and then turn their head and drink from the straw that way. And you'll see if you do that, that swallowing is a lot more difficult. So if I were really hungry or thirsty, yeah, Nancy, you can try this too. Like I might do that for a little bit to satiate the thirst and hunger, but I'm not going to enjoy myself while I'm eating or drinking this way. But if it's directly in front of me and it's a straight line down, I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to keep at it. So, gosh, yeah, there are lots of things to try, and I'm sure that this mom is just kind of at a point of exhaustion with the different lactation
Mhm.
consultants. The biggest thing, like you mentioned earlier, is not to force the baby either at the breast or, well, it doesn't sound like she has to force the bottle. Um, we don't want to force the baby to breastfeed to try to breastfeed if the baby doesn't want it because it's going to create a negative association. So lactation consultants that have suggested this that I found this to be the most effective with the babies I've worked with. You offer it a couple times. If they don't want the breast, say, okay, no big deal. Um, and then you offer the bottle, and maybe you don't offer the breast for a day, maybe even 2 days. And then you try it again very casually at the next feed time.
Julia, just a quick, babies feel what moms feel. So if
Yes.
mom's stressed out trying to get this or anxious trying to get this baby to eat, that baby
Yes.
feels it.
Yes.
So she's got to be meditated before she just sat down or had on nice music that she's not stressed out or she doesn't care. If he nurses, good. If he doesn't, I'll just give him the bottle.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And that's a tricky part too for my moms who have anxiety
Mm-hmm.
because knowing that our babies can feel what we're feeling can add to our anxiety of like, I can't feel what I'm feeling. And as soon as we push it away, and I tell my moms this, your baby is so resilient and your baby loves being with you no matter what you're feeling. Like the baby loves being with you. The more you're able to relax, the more that will help your baby. But if a mom gets to this point where she can't accept the feelings that are happening inside of her, that's bad news bears too.
Yeah.
So we do the best that we can and we surrender the rest. Babies are happy to be with you, even if you've got some anxiety or frustration. If you feel that starting to build up, it's a good time to like take a step back, even with your baby. Like, hey, we're going to try this later because I'm getting frustrated. I know you can feel it, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Julie, I think we're going to wind this up.
Yep.
If you're good with that.
Good.
Please, people, keep the questions coming. We love the questions and we love doing this type of podcast along with the informational podcasts like on one subject, but we love doing this too. So keep the questions coming and we will keep the answers
Flowing.
flowing.
Flowing. Yeah. All right. Have a great day, everybody.
You all have a good day. Bye.
Bye.